You've tried praying, you've tried healing, but the self still clings to fear, to control, to being seen. What if the only way forward is to vanish, to breathe so deeply that the you inside you dissolves, and all that remains is Him? In the Quran, God says, I breathed into him of my spirit. Sad 38:72. This is not metaphor, this is your origin. You were shaped from clay, but awakened by breath. Ibn Arabi writes that this divine breath was not just life, it was identity. A secret planted in the chest of Adam, passed down to every soul, a breath that knows its way back home. But over time, the ego thickens. The breath becomes shallow, anxious, noisy. It no longer remembers its source. This is where Fana begins. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Die before you die." This is not about death. It's about letting the self dissolve while the body still breathes. To breathe as if you no longer exist. To inhale with humility. To exhale with surrender. Ibn Arabi says, Fana is not the end of you. It is the end of your illusion. When you breathe like this, you are not escaping the world. You are remembering who you are beneath the noise. Each breath is not for survival, but for awakening. We fear Fana because we think we're losing something, our plans, our control, our self. But Ibn Arabi says, the self you fear to lose was never yours to begin with. What you call you is just a mask stitched from habits, memory, and fear. It clings to identity, insists on control, demands to be seen. Yet the Quran says, you do not will unless God wills. Al-Insan 76:30. The Prophet taught, no soul truly believes until it surrenders to what I have brought, even if it is bitter to him. Surrender is not defeat, it is a return. When you release control, you are not being passive, you are becoming available to what God is already doing through you, in your breath, in your silence, in your longing. Ibn Arabi calls this emptying the vessel, because when the cup of ego is full, nothing real can enter. Fana is the great pouring out, and only when you're empty can His presence fill you. To practice Fana, you don't need to travel far. You don't need a mountain or a cave. You need one thing only, a breath that's willing to die. This is a sacred practice, not to calm the mind, but to dissolve the self. Ibn Arabi says, the breath is the bridge between the seen and the unseen, between illusion and truth. Here is how to breathe as if you no longer exist. 1. Sit in stillness. Let your spine rise like a tree. Let your heart soften. 2. Inhale slowly through the nose. As you inhale, inwardly whisper, Ya Haq, O truth. Let the air remind you, truth is not what you think. It is what remains when thought disappears. 3. Hold the breath, gently, not in tension, but in reverence. This is the space where the false self begins to loosen. 4. Exhale, long, slow, complete. As you release, whisper, Ya Mumit, O giver of death. Let the you inside you die with the breath. 5. At the end of the exhale, sit empty. No breath, no self, no need, just awareness. Repeat this for 7 to 11 cycles. Don't force anything. This is not performance, it is surrender. Each breath becomes a funeral for what you are not, and a cradle for what you've always been. When you breathe to disappear, you might ask, what is dying inside me? Is it my thoughts, my desires, my heart? Ibn Arabi answers softly, what dies in Fana is not the soul. It is the shadow that pretends to be you. The Quran says, everything perishes except His face. Al-Qasas 28:88. This means nothing of your illusion lasts. But what is real in you, that spark of divine breath, it cannot die. When you let go of your stories, your need to control, your search for meaning, you start to see the truth that has been breathing you all along. This is the death of separation, the crumbling of the walls you built between you and God. Ibn Arabi calls it Fana al-Fana, the annihilation of annihilation, when even the sense of I am disappearing disappears. What remains then is not you knowing God, but God knowing himself through you. That's why Fana is not a loss. It's a homecoming, a return to the breath that was before you and will remain when everything else fades. We think the goal of life is to be someone, to become more, to shine, to win, to be remembered. But Ibn Arabi teaches, the greatest peace comes not from becoming, but from unbecoming. Fana frees you from the prison of yourself. No more chasing meaning in things. No more aching to be seen, to be right, to be loved. Because when you vanish into God, you become part of something that never needed validation. The Prophet ﷺ said, "None of you will truly believe until his desires submit to what I have brought." When you let your desires melt, your heart gets quiet. In this quiet, stress dissolves, fear becomes dust, grief turns to light, even illness loses its grip because you stop feeding it with resistance. The Quran says, "In the remembrance of God, hearts find rest." Arad 13:28. And Ibn Arabi adds, "Only the empty vessel can echo the name." Fana is not about escaping life. It's about living it without the weight of being you. And in that weightlessness, you fly. Fana is not the end. It is the space before a new kind of beginning. Ibn Arabi says, "He who has died to himself becomes a mirror of the real." You don't vanish to escape life. You vanish to reflect it truly. This is what the Sufis call baka, abiding in God after the self is gone. You return to the world, but not as a seeker, as a vessel. Your choices are no longer about ego. They're moved by compassion, not reaction. The Prophet ﷺ was the living example of this. He wept in prayer, laughed in presence, walked among people with no pride, because his self had long surrendered. The Quran says, "Say, my prayer, my sacrifice, my life, and my death are for God." Al-An'am 6:162. So what does it mean to live after Fana? It means breathing without owning your breath, acting without grasping results, loving without needing return, being without claiming to be. It means living from the silence you found in your disappearance. And from that silence, you speak not with words, but with light. If this path whispered something true to your heart, don't let the silence end here. There are more breaths to take, more veils to lift, more of you to lose, until only the real remains. Subscribe to Heart's Whisper, where each video is not just seen, but felt. Come closer, disappear deeper, and let the breath carry you home.